PMDD partners, welcome to another episode of the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose Alcatan, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. And being that I have PMDD, I have chosen to specialize my practice in helping PMDD partners to stop the monthly breakups. Each week, I will be providing you with my signature trauma transformational tools. Now, let's get into this week's episode. Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. PMDD stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. If you've been following along, what I'm going to talk to you about today is one of the causes for a lot of the PMDD fights, the PMDD arguments. And I really wanted to talk about this because I've seen such a pattern with this one thing. And, whenever I get to the root of things and really see a pattern with a lot of my private clients, I like to give you the tools and share some of them with you. And if you need for me to customize them, as always, you can go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those counseling sessions. But one of the biggest things that I've seen that's been a roadblock for a lot of my private clients and a lot of individuals over the years has been when you get to that point where you're arguing with your PMDD partner and you're feeling like you're right and you're feeling like they're wrong and you're wanting them to just understand. You're wanting your partner to understand your point of view. You're wanting them to understand how they're causing you to suffer even more. You're wanting them to understand what they need to do to change. You're wanting them to understand why they're the cause of a lot of your suffering. And this can happen for the partner that suffers with PMDD and the partner that doesn't suffer with PMDD. So you end up in this cycle of every single month, you're forcing them to understand what they're doing wrong and thinking that if they understand what they're doing wrong, it will make them want to change. And this is one of the biggest misconceptions in PMDD relationships, is that if your partner really understands how much they're causing you to suffer, they're automatically going to know exactly what to do to change it and to shift. And that's not a thing, right? Information of what they're doing, blaming them, shaming them, pointing the finger does not motivate them to change. It motivates them to want to avoid the relationship overall. When you point out what your partner is doing wrong without giving them a solution, all you're doing is keeping them stuck. They're going to get defensive. They're going to start to criticize you. They're going to start to say, well, what about you? You're not perfect. They're going to start comparing what you've done in the relationship to what they've done, because now, they feel like you're the enemy. You're attacking their character. And this was one of the biggest things that I went through in past relationships, where my trigger was always attacking my character. I had a lot of relationships with individuals who had a lot of insecurities. I saw a pattern of jealousy and insecurities, and I thought I could just love them. Like, that was literally like my motto. I can just love them enough, give them enough security, give them my location, tell them what I'm doing all day, stay in constant communication with them. And then that'll make them be not insecure. That'll make them not be jealous. That'll make them not feel, like they have low self-esteem, or they're feeling unworthy of being in the relationship. All of these things I thought I could cure by doing things differently in order to support them. And what that did was it burned me out. Because when your partner has these things, these jealousies, these insecurities, all of these things, without dealing with the root of why they have them, just telling them you're being insecure, you're being jealous and it's triggering me, or you're being defensive and it's triggering me, you're criticizing me and it's triggering me. They're like, okay. And then they have no tool to use. And this is why every single episode I give you tools. And if you're my private client, I give you tools and give them the exact, I give them exactly what to do. I give the partners exactly what to do. And I also give the PMDD sufferers exactly what to do. And a lot of times what I've been using is these customized mantras. And what that means is sometimes your words, you as the partner and the one that's suffering with PMDD, the way you're saying things is causing your partner to get defensive. And a lot of times they know that they're not doing things the way that they could be doing them, or they could be doing better. But instead of approaching them with a level of empathy and saying, I know this is really hard for you to navigate PMDD. I know it's really hard for you to manage being in this PMDD relationship. I really appreciate what you are doing. This is a tool, for this specific thing. Like what you need to do is really get to the root of what are these things that you're blaming your partner for? What are these things that you're saying, like, Dr. Rose, enough is enough. I can't stand another month with my partner doing this. And one of the other mistakes that I see being made is, you're talking to a lot of people, complaining to your friends and family about the things that they're not doing, about the things that they are doing to trigger you. And all your friends and family are hearing are ways that your partner is triggering you. And guess what happens? Guess what happens? Whenever you start sharing your suffering with individuals who know nothing about PMDD, you're opening the door for them to tell you to break up. But ultimately, you're complaining about being in this PMDD relationship, but it doesn't mean that you want to break up. It doesn't mean that you don't want to be with your partner. And that's where I come in. And this is why I'm saying, I know that if you're listening to this podcast, if you're still trying to figure things out, you want to be with your PMDD partner. You just don't want the suffering that goes along with it. And so what you need to do is really recognize when you're talking to people that don't know what PMDD is, where you have to consistently remind them, no, 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 this is a cyclical thing. And when I get in my luteal phase, like you get exhausted, you get burnt out. And here's the thing, it's not their job to understand your PMDD. Don't get frustrated with individuals who love and care about you and they just don't understand why you're still with this person. They don't understand why you're with this person. And they may tell you to leave this person as a way of protecting you because they see you when you're suffering by not getting your needs met. They see you when you're suffering because your partner is triggering you and they're wanting you to be happy again. They're wanting you to be in a good place. And they're thinking that the way that this can happen is if you break up with your PMDD partner and you're sitting there like, no, I actually want to be with them. You're talking to them in hopes that they can give you some kind of advice about what to do in your PMDD relationship, or you're just venting to them. But again, they don't understand premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So you're actually doing more damage because you're going to burn yourself out trying to, it's like a catch-22. Like in one point you're saying, yeah, they did this to trigger me and they did this to trigger me and I can't stand when they do this and they just act like they don't care about me, they don't love me, all of these things. So you're telling this to your friends and family, and I'm very glad that I'm doing this episode around the holidays. And I know in the US we have holidays, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, we have Kwanzaa, we have all of these things. And I know if you're in other countries, you may not have holidays in November, which I learned from going to Barcelona, Spain with my daughter. I went backpacking through Europe and I went through customs and they were like, why are you here? They wanted to know what we were doing there. And I said, oh, I'm here to celebrate the holiday. And they're like, what holiday? And I'm like, Thanksgiving. And they're like, we don't, we don't sell it. Like they were just looking at me like, what? And I'm like, Thanksgiving, the day before my birthday, because my birthday is November 29th. And so I was going for my birthday that year and they had no idea what I was talking about. And so I get they let me through. They were kind of just like, okay. They asked me how long I was going to be there, and I told them. And then I go out into Spain, and Denmark, and a lot of other places, and there was no Thanksgiving anything. I was literally just wandering around. And by the time we were about to leave, they were starting to put up like the Christmas villages and the Christmas decorations. And I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I did not know that Europe doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving. So back to how this impacts you around the holidays. I want you to be very mindful of who you are talking to about your PMDD relationship. I actually am so protective of my private clients. When you become my private client, I will let you know. If you have something come up in your PMDD relationship, contact me. If you get into a fight with your PMDD partner, contact me. If you have a question about how you should react to a certain situation that's triggering you, contact me. The reason why I say this is because I'm specially trained to deal with PMDD relationships, specifically premenstrual dysphoric relationships. Okay. So I understand the heart of your partner. I've worked with so many partners, the ones that don't have PMDD, and I know that they love and care about you. I know that they're trying their best. I know that they're not perfect. I never get on here and defend the partners and say that they're doing everything perfectly, but I do recognize how hard it is for them. and not in a way to make you feel bad for having PMDD, because obviously it's not your fault. I would say PMDD is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to manage so that it doesn't cause you suffering and it doesn't cause your partner to suffer. But what happens a lot of times is you get in those situations and you're talking to friends and family and you're so conflicted because they'll tell you, okay, well, why are you with this person? You just need to break up. Like they're like, simple solution. You're suffering. They're causing you to suffer. You're suffering with them every single month. You're giving them the same speech and script every single month about how much they're triggering you, how you think that they're verbally abusive, how you think that they talk to you like crap, how you think that they don't love you, they don't appreciate you, they don't care about you, you're doing everything, you're feeling the burden of the relationship, you can't manage, being in this relationship and having PMDD. They're hearing all this and they're downloading it and they're like, great. So the thing you need to do is break up. The thing you need to do is detach from this person. The thing you need to do is go no contact. They're giving you all of this advice that would work if you were in a regular relationship that had nothing to do with PMDD. If PMDD was not a thing, then their advice would probably be warranted. I have private clients that, don't have PMDD, just trauma, PTSD, ADHD, ADD, like other things. And I don't give the same advice to those couples that I give for PMDD relationships because I understand the nuances that can happen when you're trying to get it right. When you're my private client, I'll give you tools, and every single month you'll have customized tools, but sometimes you don't get it right. And I always say, do not beat yourself up about it because this is not your default reaction. The tools that I give you is not the way that you would automatically respond. That's why you're coming to me. You're coming to me because your instinctive way of responding is causing damage to you and it's causing damage to your relationship. You don't automatically know what to do. And you're not supposed to automatically know what to do. That's what I'm here for. And no one is requiring you to do this deep dive in the research and really understand PMDD relationships on a way that you're expert in it. And I think a lot of times when you find out that you have PMDD, you're thinking more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge. If I learn about PMDD more, if my partner learns about PMDD more, then my relationship would change. And that is not true. All you're going to do is have emotional overload because you're going to be getting so much information about PMDD, but you don't know what to do with it. You don't know what to do with it. You're going to get what I call analysis paralysis. You're going to start analyzing all of these articles, which there are more. There absolutely more now than there were when I first got started. My dissertation got published last year, and there was pretty much nothing that I could use in my dissertation. You have to base your dissertation off of prior research, and there was very little. So a lot of it I had to create. But when you're listening, a lot of times, think of this as like a startup, right? When people are starting something new, when they're starting things up, a lot of times it's opinions. And that's a scary thing. Like it's not based off of actual, you know, interviews with PMDD sufferers and PMDD partners. It's actually comparing it to, oh, this works for someone with bipolar, or oh, this works with someone with depression or anxiety. Let's just throw PMDD in there. Like that is my pet peeve for practitioners to say that they specialize in PMDD, and all that means is they just read a book or they read an article or they looked at the stats and think that they can just take their regular therapeutic practice and stamp PMDD on it without having the experience. And one of the things that I really stand by is you don't really understand PMDD. You don't really understand PMDD and PMDD relationships unless you have had PMDD or have PMDD and you've been in a PMDD relationship. So those are the two prerequisites when I ask my private clients, like, who is it that you worked with before moving forward? Because I'm all for getting help for your PMDD symptoms. I work with a lot of practitioners, coaches, and all of the things in the different realms of PMDD that I don't specialize in. If it's nutrition, if it's your body, if it's body dysmorphia that you're cycle syncing, all of those things. Could I dive into those things and master it? Yes. Is that my passion and my calling? Absolutely not. So what I just outsource it. I have a lot of friends in the community that I'll just be like, hey, I'm suffering with, feeling. I just came off of this trip, by the way. If you're wondering why this episode is a day late and a dollar short, it's because I just came off of a trip. This is my birthday month. And a lot of times in my birthday month, I travel a lot. I'm traveling for a lot of conferences, but I'm also traveling to celebrate my birthday. And I just left EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival, EDC. It's with the EDM music, kind of like the rave music. If you've been following me on Instagram, you've seen me on there. I vlog my journey every single day. So if you do not follow me on Instagram, what are you doing? Because you can always DM me there. I spend about 2 to 3 hours a day just talking with PMDD sufferers and PMDD partners. But I just went to this EDC festival and it was amazing. But one of the things that happened to me that was so crazy is I was leaving California and I immediately went there and my flight got canceled. And I was also going to Cabo, Mexico for a friend's birthday. And I was sitting in the airport, right? And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, because my flight from here from California was going to Mexico. And then from Mexico, I was going to go to the EDC festival in Orlando, Florida. So I was thinking I could do one or two things. I could either cancel my whole trip to Mexico and just go straight to Orlando and go to the festival, but then that would mean I would miss my friend's birthday party, which, was a big deal. She's a really good friend. I love her so much and she's amazing. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to buy another ticket. So I was literally in the airport and I bought another ticket to go to Mexico so I could arrive for her dinner and all the things. Why do I get to Mexico and I'm going to the baggage claim and I'm going to get my bag and there's no luggage? I'm like, where's my luggage? So I go to baggage claim. I'm not going to say the airline, not going to put them out there, although I'm still working with them. They did not have my bag. They accidentally sent my bag to Miami. So there I was sitting in the airport in Mexico. The dinner was actually that same day. I had no clothes outside of the clothes that I had on my back and my backpack that had my laptop in it because I had a client call a little bit later on that evening. And I called the hotel, or I had another friend call the hotel ahead of time because they were like, oh my gosh, Rose, I cannot believe this happened to you. So they basically told the hotel manager what happened. Like, I'm coming there, I have no clothes. She was so sweet that she let her best friend take me straight to the mall in Mexico to go get me a dress. And I had like a pretty woman moment where I walked into this boutique and I knew I wanted a red dress. I had packed a red dress. I wanted a red dress and I was just like, I need help. So, you know how in that movie, Pretty Woman, which is one of my favorite movies with Julia Roberts, how she walks into the boutique and they wouldn't help her because she looked like a hooker. Granted, I did not look like a hooker. I looked like maybe like a hobo because I had on like these cargo pants because I try to be comfortable on the plane and this like crop top. So that's why I said I had a Pretty Woman moment because it was like a crop top and these cargo pants. And I walked in at this fancy boutique, like where they would give you the champagne and everything. And I was like, I need help. And luckily she was so nice to me. She picked out the clothes for it because I needed two outfits because I also needed, outfits for the next day when I was going to the festival. So she picked out clothes for me for a beautiful red dress. The red dress actually looks like my favorite emoji. If you know that emoji, which is the dancing emoji, where it's like the red dress on and she's dancing, I use it all the time. And that dress literally looked exactly like that. And so she got me the dress. I went to see, and I told my friend what happened. When I originally told my friend, like, hey, my flight got canceled. I don't have any bags. She thought I wasn't coming. But like I told you on prior episodes, when I'm all in, I'm all in. And if I'm all in as a friend, like I'm gonna find a way to get there. And I found a way. So I showed up and she was literally in tears. My friend was literally in tears because she couldn't believe that I had gone to those lengths just to show up for her. And that's the way I am in relationships. And I noticed that about myself. Like I was having like a very reflective journey. Like even though all of this chaos and confusion was happening around me, I was in this state of peace, but I was downloading a lot of what was going on. I was like, why am I, why is this happening to me? Why did I lose my luggage? I was sleep deprived. All of these things, but I still felt a sense of peace. Like I still felt like, okay, this is going to be okay. So I got the red dress. It looked amazing. It actually ended up being it looked better than the one that I had packed. So I was like, huh, because sometimes when bad things start to happen, you start to think maybe I'm not supposed to go here, or maybe I'm not supposed to do this. But when I got to the event, everybody was like, wow, I love your dress. That's amazing. Like, I thought you said, they were like, you found your luggage. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I just got this. And I just felt like sometimes when you're in PMDD, you start to think like you're being punished in your relationship. I remember thinking like that with my ex, like every single month we're going through this, and I feel like I'm being punished. And you think that you're doing something wrong, but it's really showing you things. PMDD has a way of ripping the blanket off of the issues that you have with your partner and is showing you things. And that's the same thing that happened with the situation with the dress. Like, it was showing me that even though it looked like, you should have canceled it and you're not going to make it and you're not going to have a good time, I had an amazing time. I met some amazing women and men. Some of them, wanted to hire me for counseling and things like that. People just had stuff going on. This is such a season where there's so much going on. And I take every interaction with everyone that I meet, and I always think I met them for a reason. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. So I went to that amazing event, and I called the airline and I'm like, hey, can you send my bags to Orlando? And they're like, yeah, 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 we'll send your bags to Orlando. So I literally get on a plane the next day. I had an amazing event. My friend was so happy. I go the next day, we have breakfast, and I say bye to her. I get to Orlando. And at this point, I only had one little carry-on bag that had like the little bit of clothes that I had bought. And I get to Orlando thinking I'm going to have my whole suitcase. Do you know that I go to the baggage claim and they tell me that my bags were now in Mexico? And I was like, what? I remember thinking, like, am I being punked? Is this a joke? So now I'm in Orlando, my bags are in Mexico. And I was like, okay. So I told them, I said, can you just send my bags home? Just send them back to California. Like, at this point, I have nothing. Like, I have no clothes. I went to the festival and I went to the mall again. And I went to another mall and I said, let me just see if they have a festival like costume. Like, I'm like, because a festival is something where you have jewelry, you have makeup, you have all of these things. Like, it's a big deal. It's a big, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see I did a reel about it. This is not like a regular, outfit or dress. So I went there and I found this amazing outfit and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to the concert. Went to the concert, had an amazing time. Like, I danced and met so many amazing people. And you know why this was so important for me to go to this festival? It was because I counted the last time I had been to this festival, and I used to go every year, was 2017. So it was the year before I was with my ex. So I met my ex and then I didn't go the whole time. Um, and so I'm really just in this journey of just finding myself again, finding what makes me happy, what brings me joy. My word this year is freedom. That is when I feel my best, is when I feel free. And I've been journaling on that. And I was really just thinking about, when I was told you I was working with a dating coach and he'll be on the podcast in a couple of episodes, I was just like, when I chose to be with my last PMDD partner, one of the things that I made the mistake of doing was choosing someone when I was in my follicular phase, when I was feeling good. And I just said, moving forward, I need to be able to be with someone that makes me feel free, that allows me to stay free, in my luteal phase and in my follicular phase. So like, my word was freedom, and really just getting back to the core of who I am was me at that concert. Like, I felt the energy. Other people felt the energy. Good vibes only. That's really my thing, and that's one of the things that PMDD really can rob you of. It can be a fog over top of whatever is the best version of you. We talked on last episode. We really talked about our core three words. And so I would say, write down, if you're taking notes, write down, what is your word? What is your word that you feel when you're feeling your best? It could be calm. It could be peace. Mine is freedom. And when I mean freedom, I mean physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, all the things. I feel my best when I feel free. So I really, took that seriously on this journey, and I had an amazing time, but there were so many discoveries that I was making and saying, like, when I'm getting back to myself and my PMDD and having a future relationship, there's so many additional things that I know I have to take into consideration, and just understanding that just because your partner is having a hard time with navigating PMDD and using the tools doesn't mean that they're the wrong person for you. And that's what I want you to recognize. And that's why I say it's so tricky with talking to other people about PMDD. And I'm not saying isolate yourself. I'm saying find a way to process it in a way that you're not going to have to be defending yourself to someone else. So if I say I want to be in a PMDD relationship, but I need to be with someone who allows me to be free, that's what I'm discovering about me. I don't need to prove that to anyone else. Like if I was to talk to my friend, I have a couple of best friends, and I would say, "Hey, this is what I want," and they might try to set me up. I'm like, "You should be with somebody like this, and you should be with somebody like that." And it's like, at some point in your PMDD journey, you have to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to stand up for your partner. You have to stand up for your relationship. And if you're saying that you love your partner as much as you're saying that you love them, as much as you're saying you're committed to them, as much as you're saying that you're dedicated to them, sometimes it's a lonely journey because you're the only one that believes that you should be with this person. And that's why when you're coming to me and you're saying, I see the tears with my private clients where you say, I feel so seen. I feel like you understand me. I feel like you get me. And it's because I've been there, not because I've read something in a textbook and said, oh, PMDD relationships must be hard. It's because I've been in that situation where I felt the pressure of having to defend why I want to be with this person and almost questioning it. You start to defend it so much and you get tired of defending it and you feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't. Like you get burnt out. You get burnt out and you're like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't be with this person. And what I want to tell you is when you're in that realm of doubt, when you're questioning it, you're letting the other version of what everybody else thinks win. You're letting what other people think win, and you're getting away from the core of why you're with your PMDD partner. So I just want you to take a moment and really recognize everything happens for a reason, meaning you are with your PMDD partner for a reason. You are holding on to your PMDD partner for a reason. You're holding on to this relationship for a reason, and not because you're too weak to let it go. Because I know if you wanted to let it go, you could. If you wanted to let it go, you could, but there's a reason why you're saying, but I love this person. And this is why I always tell my private clients, I always ask them, is this your person? Is this your person? If this is your person, then it's worth fighting for. But with PMDD, you are going to have to fight for your relationship. And what I mean fight, I don't mean fight with your partner. I mean fight for your partner. And a lot of times that could mean you putting the blinders on, like they do with the horses when they're running the race. You have to put the blinders on to what everybody else is telling you about your PMDD relationship. And you have to say, I know this is my person. So I'm gonna do what it takes. I'm gonna get the tools to work on my PMDD relationship. And if that's something where you're like, Dr. Rose, that's where I'm at. I'm at the point where I'm not ready to let go, but I also don't want to continue this pattern of going every single month of suffering with my PMDD relationship. Go to inlovewithpmdd.coms, and that's why I call them the PMDD relationship reset sessions. We are resetting the pattern that you're in, the cyclical pattern of suffering in your PMDD relationship. Go get those sessions. And I really want to urge you around this holiday season. December is going to be the month where I'm accepting the rest of my private clients. So at the end of the year, I'm trying to give you my calendar a little bit. At the end of the year, this year, the end of November, I'm going to be pre-booking a lot of my sessions for December. So if you've been thinking about Dr. Rose, I really want to work with you. I really want to change my PMDD relationship for 2025. It takes time. We need to start now. We need to start that. This is a level of urgency that I need you to have, because all of the tools that I give you so that you can practice them, so you can utilize them over the course of your cycle. A cycle is a full month. Like I need to see how you are in your ovulation phase, your luteal phase, your follicular phase, your menstruation phase. This takes time. So I don't want you to wait until the new year. You know, a lot of times people are saying, I'm going to wait till the new year and things are going to change. I need you to do it now. I need you to have a sense of urgency and say, if I don't want to suffer in December, I need to get the help now. And again, it doesn't have to be you and your PMDD partner. It could just be you. It could just be your partner. I only need one person to start using the tools in order for you to start seeing changes in your PMDD relationship. And another thing is, I really want to support you. I don't want you to feel like you're in this alone. I don't want you to feel like you're going crazy. I don't want you to feel like you're the only one. Because one of the things that I learned from this trip of going to this EDC concert and having all of these horrible things happen with my bags being nothing lost, nothing is a coincidence. Everything happened for a reason. Every person that I met, and I met some people that I would not have met had my flights been derailed. And I had time to journal more than I would have normally had. And I had time to process, and I had time to have, you know, a private client session that I wouldn't have normally had. So a lot of times when you're thinking that you're suffering in your relationship, like you're doing something wrong, I want you to recognize nothing is a coincidence. If you're feeling that pull and you're saying, I want something to change in my PMDD relationship, then do something different. If you want something different to happen in your relationship, you have to do something different. Otherwise, if you see the same pattern, it should be no surprise to you. If you're suffering this month in PMDD and you do nothing different and you suffer next month, it shouldn't be a shock. It shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm suffering. Of course, you're still suffering. You haven't done anything different. When I decided, and I did the episode before on this, when I decided enough is enough, I knew I couldn't, the pain of the suffering that I was feeling caused me to be in that place where it's like, I can't do this anymore. And when you say that, this doesn't mean I can't do this anymore. I want to break up. It means I can't do this anymore. I need to get help. Like I told you on my dating journey, and you'll see on I think a podcast, like 2 podcasts later, I hired a dating mentor because I said, I can't do this. When I know that there's some area that I don't have expertise in and I really need help in, I invest in that. Because investing in myself, investing in yourself eases your suffering. Otherwise, you're just suffering at your own cost. It's like, of course you're suffering and you're not getting the help for it. And I want to be there to provide you with the help. But again, be careful. If you're writing notes, be careful of who you're talking to about your PMDD relationship. Not because they don't love you, not because they don't care about you, but when you're in PMDD, it can really mess with your head. And it can really convince you that maybe I do need to break up. And I don't want you to get in that spiral, because that's all PMDD needs to get you in that place of being so dissatisfied in your relationship, so hopeless, so helpless that you're like, yeah, we should just break up. But then what's going to happen on the other side of that? You're not going to have your partner. And one of the biggest things about that is having the regret afterwards, knowing that PMDD stole your partner from you, stole your relationship from you. And one of the most painful things that you can do is give up your partner because of PMDD and see them with someone else. I have a client that happened with, and they are not good. Because now they're like, oh, well, maybe we can work on this. And the partner said, oh, I've already moved on. They literally got in a relationship with someone else because they tried to convince their partner to get help with their symptoms. They wouldn't get help. And then they went on to be with someone else. And then now they can't get that person back. Do not let PMDD steal your partner from you, because at that point, there's very little that I can do. I can't convince your ex-partner to be your partner again. So if you're in that place where you're like, we're on thin ice, and you think that your partner won't leave, I'm trying to tell you, I have clients all the time where they leave. And then they'll be like, this came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. You saw the signs. You were suffering just like they were suffering. Everybody has a limit. Everybody has a limit. So get the help while you know that it's there. InLoveWithPMDD.com. Follow me on Instagram so you can see my journey. And until next time, we got this. I love you. I hope this PMDD episode helped you and your partner in your struggles within your relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with and you need further support, individualized support, make sure you're going to inlovewithpmdd.com and you're getting those private sessions to really work through what you're going through in your relationship, specifically in regards to PMDD. And also, I want you to leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts. What this does is it helps other PMDD sufferers and partners find this show that can help them get these free PMDD relationship tools. I remember what it felt like to not know that there were tools out there specifically for PMDD relationships. So I want to make sure that you are sharing these tools with others, share them on your social media, share them with people that you know that are also struggling in their PMDD relationships. Until next episode, this is Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. One more thing, I almost forgot. I now have the Fresh Start PMDD Partners Workbook. What this workbook can do is if you've had past traumatic experiences with your partner, past fights, past arguments, and they keep coming up every single month in PMDD, I created a Fresh Start Workbook so that you can deal with all of the traumatic experiences that have happened in the past in PMDD rage and all of these things so you can stop going through the same cycle again and again and again. So get that workbook. It comes with a video episode of the actual podcast that I recorded on getting a fresh start in your PMDD relationship. So you're not continuing the same cycle again and again and again. So make sure that you get that workbook. And if you need those individualized counseling sessions, you know where to go, inlovewithpmdd.com. Until next time, we got this. Love you.